All right, welcome to the AdaptX Podcast, where we have conversations with individuals building accessible businesses, advocating for inclusion, or excelling in adaptive sports. Our intention is never to speak on behalf of those with disabilities, but to provide a platform to share their voice and amplify ideas to a more accessible world. Today, I'm joined by Adele Smolansky, the founder and CEO of AI-Learners, an EdTech company that helps students with disabilities learn through AI-powered digital activities. She has a computer science degree from Cornell University and a master's in learning science from Stanford. Adele, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I guess the best thing to start with would be explaining what AI-Learners is, and then I would love to backtrack to what kind of inspired you to pursue that. So maybe start with a high-level overview of what AI-Learners is.
Awesome. Yeah. So AI-Learners is an educational platform for students with all abilities to learn math, literacy, and social skills. We're really focused on making learning more accessible for students with disabilities, so working with students with mild to more severe disabilities, and creating a really fun digital learning experience for them. AI has a lot of really high potential now, and we're excited to figure out creative ways that we can use it to be supporting this population. So the context of how I started this, so my younger sister has a disability, so I saw the challenges that she had mainly during the COVID pandemic with her learning. And growing up as well, my mom had sued the Department of Education twice in New York, and the challenges of special education were just a part of our daily lives. But then during COVID, when I was trying to help my sister on a day-to-day basis with her studies, I really saw those added challenges that she was having. And that aligned with when I started my computer science degree at Cornell. And with a year of CS knowledge in me, I was like, okay, let me see what I can do to help my sister. And from there, we were able to really develop something that was helping her. And then her teacher said, okay, we'd love to share this with other people. And so one thing led to another, and here we are working with students all across the country.
With that initial MVP, or kind of the pilot program that you used with your sister, was it leveraging AI tools, or was this a little bit before the more recent AI boom?
Yeah, so the initial MVP was around 2021, and it was actually my dad's idea to put AI in the name. And obviously I knew the term AI. Did I know exactly what AI was? Probably not. But my dad said, hey, put AI in the name. AI is cool, you should do something with it. And back then it was just a very simple platform. Like, we had created a game and you could play the game, and there wasn't any complicated AI. It was we were really focusing on the visual experience and making something that was simple and visually accessible for kids. So it was only more recently where we really started integrating the AI and seeing a lot of different ways that we can do it, both with generative AI, but then also more standard machine learning methods.
And did a product like this not exist? I feel like if I think back to my younger elementary school days, there were technological, I wouldn't call them solutions, but there were definitely technological opportunities to learn math and other subject areas.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was also using other products. We have IXL, Khan Academy as two of the big ones, SplashLearn, and many more that I also used as a kid and with other kids that I was tutoring. But the challenges with these platforms for students with disabilities is that they lack customization and they lack specific engagement and personalization that students with disabilities need. So for example, we have students with autism may have very specific interests, and they, if you ask them to do addition with apples on the screen, they're going to start crying and run away. So a solution to that is, okay, let's let kids choose an object that they're going to learn addition with. Zooming out a little bit more, we have students with vision impairments that may require very specific visual spacings or sizing on the screen. So we need to make sure that that visual interface is well adapted for those students and their specific needs. Some people think, oh, let's just have some dark mode and make all of the text big, but that's not always the exact solution. There's other nuances that we've been learning. And then we have students with behavioral challenges where they may need extra breaks, or they actually may not need an extra break and they just need to run through the game more and then have more reinforcement at the end of the game. And so there's different ways of dynamically changing that the breaks in the middle of the game, and then also using AI, assessing how that goes and seeing what's better and what's worse for kids.
With that degree of customization and individualization, I would imagine it's a hefty coding and computer science lift to kind of be able to individualize it for all those different use cases. Are you only browser-based or only, I guess, computer-based, desktop-based?
No, we have both on a website and an app. So it's accessible on an iPad app, and a lot of kids in schools, especially younger kids, will have access to iPads.
Okay, so just iOS for operating systems?
For now, yes. We have it built in React, which means we can create Android app, but Android has just like so many weird dev complexities.
Yeah.
And we don't have a single student that has wanted an Android app, so we haven't made that a priority yet.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you measure whether the software and the program is effective? Like, what type of research or outcome measures are you using?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. So there's obviously a couple of different ways of doing that. There's the qualitative data and the quantitative data. We haven't yet done like a controlled research study where we have a control group with students not using the platform and students using the platform. That's something that is on deck for us for next year. But so far we've been going to teachers and asking them how they're using AI learners. And how they're liking it. We also have 100% renewal rate, so that helps saying like, okay, like they're literally buying this and they think that it's adding value to their school. But then we still have data on how students are interacting with the platform, and we can see how their engagement statistics are working. So we're able to detect that, okay, in the same time period that a student sits on the platform, they're spending more time learning on the platform. So that means that we're able to engage students more, and that engagement is really critical with this population because a lot of other platforms, as I mentioned before, are failing to engage students. And then the other big measure is the ease of use. We have teachers that they don't even need an onboarding session with us. They're just up and running. And we just signed on a school and they only signed on a couple of kids. And then the teacher just went on the platform, started playing around with it on her own. And immediately I got an email from her supervisor saying, we're purchasing 5 more seats for students. She really likes this.
So is that the model? Is it subscription-based per seat?
Yeah, it's subscription-based per seat. We typically charge by the student. And so then every student will have their own account. They're able to log in at home or at school and use this whenever. And then we have teacher accounts that come with the student accounts. So then teachers can create some content, create assignments, and view student progress.
You mentioned engagement and kind of measuring how long students are on the platform and how much work they're getting done in that period of time. Are there elements of, I guess, beyond the game itself, are there elements of gamification, like students have a user dashboard and they're getting scores or badges of any sorts?
Yeah, so that's been the most interesting to develop because obviously we want to be rewarding students, but we also need to keep in mind that we have some students that are going to be playing for an hour a day, and some students that are playing for 10 minutes a day, only a couple of times a week. And that's not because of the student, it's because when the teacher wants to be incorporating this in the lesson. So we don't want to make kids feel bad for not playing a lot because of that. Then we also have some kids that are going to spend more time on every question because of their needs. And then we have some kids that are able to blow through it. So it's this complex problem of how do we make this engagement work for these different students? And so we have developed a system where kids are getting rewarded. They get stars for every question they answer right. They get trophies at certain points. They're able to level up. But all of this is very positive focused. And we're also trying to spread this out in an appropriate way so that even if some students are playing more than others, they're still able to get stars and trophies and level up over time. And then also there's some controversy as well of like, do we want to give kids stars to be able to purchase different things? Because we don't know if we want to be like telling 4-year-olds right away, okay, like go get this and then go out and shop for something and you have more money than your friend Bobby next to you. Also, some 4-year-olds don't even understand the concept of like going to buy something.
Yeah.
So we're really careful with the way that we're designing that. But we're actually pushing out a big feature coming up soon that's giving kids also awards for different like accomplishments that they get. So they get medals in addition to some trophies. And then we're also giving kids stickers, so then they have this sticker book, and then they're also learning more about specific objects throughout the way. So like we really have a lot of engagement in different facets, and then we can kind of blend that in with the actual learning experience as well.
Yeah, I would imagine you could individualize the rewards in the same way that you individualize the activities, just comparing it to recent performance as opposed to their peers' performance. So if someone's on the app for 30 minutes a week and then the next week they do 40 minutes, it could just congratulate them for that improvement or duration.
Yeah, exactly.
You mentioned 4-year-olds. Kind of what's the age range and ability level, although you can't really quantify ability level, I guess, but like are you seeing people without moderate to severe intellectual disabilities benefit from the app as well?
Yeah, so for ages, we have kids as young as 3 on the platform and then as old as 22. So the age range is wide there. The cognitive abilities are about the pre-numeracy, pre-literacy areas through second grade content. So our high school students that are using AI learners are cognitively at a lower level, so they're able to benefit from that early foundational skills. And then, sorry, I missed your second question.
No, like I guess are people without intellectual and cognitive disabilities using the platform?
Yeah, so we've had some kids without any disabilities use the platform as well, and they liked it, their teachers liked it. So it's been really cool to see, like, we can serve a range of students. So we have students that are in self-contained classrooms, so students with most significant needs, through students without disabilities. We have a lot of students with vision impairments as well using the platform, and they, like, their disability may only be their vision, and cognitively they're on grade level. So we would definitely have a range of needs on the platform.
I'm just thinking personally, my son's about to be 3, and I know we worry about his screen time to a degree, and I wonder if this would be an effective way to introduce him to math concepts, etc., in a positive way that's gamified and enjoyable, but at the same time, I guess, balance that. We don't want him on an iPad all the time and stuff, so I guess it's that balance.
Yeah, well, we do have a product for parents as well, so we can definitely do that. But yeah, there's definitely is a big push to get kids off of screens. I would say like 2 things on that. One, kids are on screens in like a negative way, and they're associating an iPad with play only. So what we're trying to do is say, okay, like you can be on an iPad and play, but here's a educational way of playing, and really see like an iPad can be more than just for play. Part 2, we actually are starting to roll out functionality where teachers can create content and then provide it for students that isn't going to be only screen time. So like we have materials for teachers where they can put something on a projector, and so they can put a story on a projector, they can go through the story and then have that be as a full group activity. And then kids are all participating together and they're not all on their individual devices. And then we're also letting teachers have materials that they could print out, like worksheets, and then give that to students. And then we'll see like if there's ways that we can grade that as well automatically. So we definitely do want to help facilitate lessons that aren't only with technology, but giving teachers the ability to still use the technology to create something really customizable and personalized for their students.
Yeah, for sure. When I was kind of prepping for the conversation, I was just thinking back to COVID when, depending on a school district's resources, some students didn't have access to the same type of learning as others did. And now we're kind of seeing that manifest with a lot of students below grade level with reading and math and maybe, other aspects of social emotional learning as well. But do you think this has the opportunity to maybe mitigate some of those discrepancies experienced by students in lower income areas versus higher income areas? Like, do you guys look at how your technology could maybe support that as well?
Yeah, we actually have been working with school districts from a range of income areas. I really do want to work as well with schools that can be using Title IX funds. Because we definitely are seeing challenges all across the board there. And so we have some, even within districts, we have just a range of classrooms and teachers that come from different backgrounds and experiences. And I do hope that we can, cover that full spectrum. You also brought up social skills and the challenges there post-COVID, and that's been a really big thing that we're seeing, especially with the digital era where more kids are loving technology and YouTube videos are the only thing that calms them down. We're seeing even more problems with social learning. And we've recently been doing a big push in that social skills area. So we have social stories, which is something that is commonly used and actually originated for students with autism. But now we're seeing it for a range of students. And we're really trying to get at connecting to kids' personal experiences. So a teacher can read a social story to kids or have the technology read it out for kids, and then they can reflect on their personal experiences. So like part one is making sure you understand the story, and then part two is connecting it to your own experiences. And those activities, whether it's a one-on-one with a teacher, whether it's small group activities or a full group lesson, are really helpful and also fit in well with literacy content so that I can fit in well as well with the entire day.
Yeah, the crafting of individualized social stories is definitely interesting because back when I was in ABA Tech in college, we had to kind of make manual Velcro-based little cutouts and stuff, and it would be awesome if you could kind of streamline that process of student is about to do XYZ, let's introduce it to him in a way that makes him comfortable with the expectations. So
yeah, exactly. And even there, you're really able to customize it. Like we have some teachers say, okay, we want the social story with a blue background. Another teacher says, no, I don't like the blue background. My kid, Abby, wants a pink background. And then we also have realistic images for all of the stories, and you can also add your own images, or you can create an image with AI. There's a lot of different customization that goes in there. And then also with like the reading out of the story. So if a teacher isn't able to read it or doesn't want to, and we want to have the technology read it out to let a kid work independently, you can change the audio. You can have like a female voice or a male voice. You can slow down the voice. You can speed up the voice. You can change the pitch, the volume, make a kid voice, an adult voice. And those small changes are really critical for student engagement.
Yeah. There's a little bit of tension, I guess, in the digital accessibility space between AI tools or things like accessibility overlays and true digital accessibility adherence. So you guys are obviously designing with accessibility in mind from the onset with all of your products. But where do you see, I guess, AI's role in improving the accessibility of websites or other apps that maybe weren't built with that same degree of care? We are grateful for the support of our first show sponsor. Resolution Fitness offers leading brand health club equipment and accessories for residential and commercial use. In addition to traditional exercise equipment, they specialize in adaptive fitness products and wheelchair accessible machines. If you're interested in outfitting your fitness facility or home gym to be more accessible, visit www.resolutionfitness.ca or the link in the show notes below.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like the $1 million question that unfortunately not everyone is solving right now. I think accessibility really should be forefront to all of the software development and in EdTech. Right now, what we see is that accessibility is kind of the afterthought when it comes to EdTech products, and now with schools, they should be mandating accessibility for all EdTech products, and then EdTech companies are like trying to work around it as much as possible to be able to just like pass a checklist when they partner with the school district. But passing a checklist doesn't mean that you're actually usable and effective for students with disabilities. So if a school is purchasing something for their kids, then the special education students may just be left out of that, or they're going to be using something that's just not working for them in the classroom on a day-to-day basis.
It might just because I've been exploring the topic more in the last couple of years, but I think digital accessibility is getting on more people's radar. And I wonder, I mean, you went to two of the best schools in the country for computer science and learning sciences. And was digital accessibility covered in your curriculum?
In undergrad, no. That was like, I loved Cornell. I got so much out of it, but accessibility was not covered in it. There was one web development class where my friends say that like there was one class where they touched on it. So that's positive. When I was at Cornell, I actually had, like, I started a club that kids could get, where undergrad students could get college credit to be in the club. And every week we would have workshops on accessibility and software, and we would be thinking about the design side and the software development side. So that was a really great opportunity. I had like over 100 students come through that over the 2 or 3 years that I did that. So it was really great to be like teaching other people about accessibility, and that was a great way that I was able to learn more about it as well. There was a research group at Cornell, which is how I got into the research space as well, called Enhancing Ability Lab, and they were all focused on accessibility, and that was just like an incredible experience to have grad students in the lab just really caring about the topic, and our advisor is incredible. And then at Stanford, so I was in the Graduate School of Education, and there are a couple of professors here that are focused on learning differences, and that is like a pretty central and core topic, actually, I would say, in some of the programming that the Graduate School of Education has. So I think Stanford is doing a big push in that sense.
I would imagine that at both of those universities, your peers or you and your peers had the opportunity to work on software projects that maybe had a higher ceiling in terms of like profitability or the ability to kind of scale a company and exit a company, and there might have been a higher financial incentive to go in other directions for software. That might be an incorrect assumption, but what beyond your personal connection to the mission, I guess, kind of encouraged you to pursue this project? And maybe my assumption's way off the mark to begin with, but yeah.
Yeah, I guess I started this as I want to do something that's helpful for my sister and that can really help her learn. And then slowly, as I talked to more teachers and other kids started using the product, I saw like, wow, this is actually helping other people. And after a certain point, it wasn't really a question of like, do I want to do this? It was more of a question of like, yes, I obviously want to do this, and now I just see how helpful it can be for other people, and it's like every person that is using AI-Learners says, wow, like we haven't seen anything even remotely as close to accessible and usable and friendly for our kids. And after hearing that time and time again, it's not something that I want to walk away from.
Yeah, and I think my question maybe undermined the market size and the potential of this program, and I didn't mean to phrase it in that way, because there's obviously a lot of people with disabilities that could benefit from this, and there's a lot of school districts that are willing to invest in stuff like this that improves student learning outcomes. So it's definitely a product, obviously, that can support a lot of people. And how do you think that you guys will get it in front of as many schools as possible? Kind of what's the marketing or outreach approach?
Yeah, so what we've been doing so far is going to conferences where special education administrators and teachers are. There's a great organization called CEC, Council for Exceptional Children, and they are a huge organization with a lot of subgroups as well. And so actually I'm going to Baltimore next week for their national conference, where it attracts like 4,000 or 5,000 people. And there's administrators there, there's teachers, there's everyone else in between. And it's at these conferences where I'm really building those relationships with people. They get to know me, they get to know my story. And then over time, those relationships develop into a demo call and then into a pilot in their school district. And then after we have that pilot, people see really how much they love the product and how their kids are excited about using it in that engagement. And then we get into the district, and then also, so like that's kind of that main strategy to target different school districts. And then once we're in different school districts, like they will then share the word, and there's a lot of word of mouth that we're seeing.
Is there any proposed like roadblocks with scaling at some point? Are those discovery calls or those onboarding calls going to be challenging to maintain the certain volume that you need, I guess?
As of now, not yet.
Yeah, it'd be a good
still more
problem
of
to
those
have, I guess.
Yeah, so that would be a great problem to have. I think it's also like finding your right customers. And when I'm at these conferences, I'm able to develop those relationships and learn more about who the people are that I'm talking to. And then that helps me really target people in the right way and then get enough data points so that once we have those initial calls, I know who I'm talking to. And we're able to kind of get all of the details ironed out in a good way. Also, AI really helps with like internal productivity tools. And just internal workflows. Like we use the CRM, and there's a lot of AI products or a lot of AI sequences and automations built into that, so that can really save me time on sending those follow-up emails and sending, like, writing emails and all of those things.
Are you hoping to partner or kind of join in with a large, and I don't know the industry well, so I couldn't even pull a company that would be a good one to partner with, but like a larger EdTech provider?
Yeah, that's actually like something I've started thinking about more recently. I'm like in initial conversations with some other companies to talk about that. I think some sort of strategic partnership would be great to then get help on the marketing and sales side. I definitely love working on the product, and I think that's where my strengths and passions really are. And I do see the product working and helping kids. And so the biggest blocker definitely is that marketing and getting to schools and building those relationships. And then if we are to work with a company that already has that repertoire set up, that would definitely save a lot of time.
Yeah, absolutely. What are you most excited about over the next year or two with the product, or kind of what do you want to focus most of your attention towards?
We were talking about that engagement setup. I think that is something I'm really trying to focus on, and building up more personalized engagement for kids, and really helping kids like not only practice the content but also learn the content. And so engagement is in the form of like giving kids stars and giving them stickers to then go through, but then also engaging them in like the actual teaching of different lessons. Kids learn really well in like more bite-sized chunks. So we want to be giving them small tips and reminders and like interactive lesson modules. And so we're building up a whole new set of learning modules like that can then fit in well with our practice content.
Awesome. This is probably too vague of a question, but I'm working with Boston University's computer science program called Spark, and they've accepted one of like my project proposals as a couple semester long project. So right now we just started working with the UX and UI team, and then in the summer and the fall they start coding the app. And I guess the general basis of the app, without going into too much detail, is connecting people with disabilities with accessible gyms, adaptive sports organizations, and guides. So if they want to go for a run and they have a visual impairment, like how quickly we can get them a guide, like Uber a guide towards like for them and stuff like that. Or maybe they want to try out a fitness class, but they're not comfortable doing it on their own. They could find a support athlete to go try out that class with them. And I'm going through some of the similar things of, do we want badges when they try 5 different types of activities, or do we want a trophy for physical activity every day of the week or something? But what was something that I guess you didn't anticipate when building the mobile app that has kind of proven to be most challenging?
That's a cool question. Well, I guess a little bit of context. Our like mobile app, iPad app, website, they all are pretty much the same functionality. But I guess like biggest challenges across all of them is honestly like making everything accessible.
Yeah.
Like accessibility is really, really hard. And I'm not just talking about like meeting WCAG standards. I'm talking about how can we really make sure that kids that are using a Switch device or a screen reader are able to not just like tab through the sequence, but that the audio that's read to them is really supportive, that the sequencing is perfect, that they can just have a seamless experience where they're not getting frustrated by the lack of by the lack of accessibility there. And if you try like tabbing through some other websites, like you get frustrated really, really quickly. So we really just want to make that an easy experience. And so then when we're also talking about stars and trophies and medals, like when we're showing those to kids, when we're or to adults, to anybody, like when we're when we're giving somebody that trophy, how can we make that actually an exciting experience and not a stressful experience of that process of getting in and like trying to use that with assistive technology?
Yeah. Accessibility is intimidating, not just by the whole scope of it, digital accessibility that is, but just like as a person who doesn't have a disability but working on these products, I care a lot about how accessible they are, obviously. But I recognize that it will still be subject to criticism when it inevitably is not accessible. And that's just a little intimidating. Like I'm working so hard to create opportunities for people with disabilities to be more physically active is like kind of our main thing. But I know inevitably someone will have trouble navigating our website or the app. And I hope when that point comes, we can kind of quickly iterate and respond to that feedback in a way that doesn't discourage the user. So it's just one thing that's a little intimidating, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess like to touch on that actually. I'll give an example. We were working with Bellevue Public Schools in Washington, and the main like contact person that I have there is the assistive technology person, and she's incredible. But to your point, or like to your story, when they started using it, they were excited. They're like, this is the best app. And then she one day reached out to me and was like, so we're having some problems with Switch accessibility. And I freak out. I'm like, oh my goodness, I thought like this was so good. Like now this is not good anymore. And this deal is over. No one likes this. And so then I recuperated a little bit and I emailed her back and I said, thank you so much for the feedback. I'd love to get on a call to learn more about the challenges you're experiencing and how we can help you. In the first 5 minutes of the call, she's just like telling me about all of the great things that she loves about AI learners. And I'm like, oh, so you guys actually still do like it. There's just a couple of things that you want to see improvements on.
Yeah.
And that mind shift really helped, where it was like, she was saying, okay, we like what you're doing, but like we are seeing these additional improvements that you can make, and we would love if you can make them. And I think that's also the mindset of a lot of people in the accessibility space, is that like we know accessibility is really hard and we just want to all work together to be able to improve experiences for people.
Yeah, I think you just have to maybe have some degree of emotional detachment from it. Like you said, like you had that visceral reaction where you're like, oh no, the person hates it. Like, but really, and It's hard to communicate via an email. Like she was just, I guess, alerting you to a feature that would maybe benefit some other people, and I'm sure we'll have similar experiences as we ship out products and they are met with issues and stuff. But yeah, the team at BU, the students, I hope at the very least, they'll kind of be introduced to designing with accessibility in mind. I mean, in the first meeting, one of the students at the end, and my partner in the project is blind, and she's kind of like raises her hand at the end, and she's like, so how do people who are blind use an app? And we're like, okay, so this is how they do it. So I think at the very least it becomes an educational experience, and then hopefully it turns into something that's beneficial for users as well. But
yeah, that sounds
our work
great.
is predominantly in fitness, I guess. So I don't know if there's a direct application to fitness in this sense. We talked mostly about the digital accessibility and the EdTech and learning side of things. We do typically ask our guests if they have any recommendations as to how the fitness industry could be more accessible and inclusive. I don't know if your sister had any experiences with athletics or fitness that you can kind of draw from, or even personally what you've seen using gyms, participating in sports, etc. But I guess, do you have any overarching recommendations as to what the industry could do better?
I guess I'll share some thoughts that I have, and then it hopefully will lead to suggestions. So there's this one guy at Stanford who is low vision or completely blind, and I see him at the gym almost whenever I'm at the gym. I've even seen him swimming in the pool. And my friend like knows him pretty well, and I was talking to him and I was like, wow, I'm just like so impressed that he's not caring what people think and is going by himself to the gym. And it's definitely like I'm in the accessibility space all the time, and something that frustrates me is like sometimes judging that other people will have. And I almost wish that like, yes, like there's ways that we can make experiences better for people with disabilities, but then also like, can we educate other people around them and help other people like be more accepting of people with disabilities in public spaces. And I think that will just like improve life for students for people with disabilities so much more, because they feel more accepted in a community.
Yeah, I think the shared recreation of like kind of being in the same space and, like you said, seeing someone with a visual impairment or a disability participating in the same activities that you find joy in is a good way to demonstrate that there's more similarities and differences. So that's where like at my gym in Massachusetts, like I think it's been a great educational experience just as much for our quote unquote able-bodied high schoolers and college athletes and adults who seamlessly coexist alongside our individuals with disabilities, and they just kind of see, or their expectation for what disability is or could do is different now that they've seen those populations train alongside them. So yeah, I think the more inclusive environments that exist, the more people will be educated. So
yeah, absolutely. And then I guess one other thing on the sports side, like my sister has a more significant disability, and she is in a wheelchair, but it would be great if we could have something that is easier for her to access, where like, and I've tried to find like some programs online, but it's definitely like she's in a more challenging position, and it would be great if like we could empower her to like see more parts of the world and like see what we can do from that physical perspective. And like my parents have done a great job of doing that and like taking her on trips all across the world. But if it could be easier on them to be supporting her as well, I think that would be something we'd definitely be looking at.
Absolutely. If people are interested in learning more about AI learners or following the work that you do, what would be the best way they can connect with you? And we can include exact links in the show notes, but
awesome. Yeah, we have my LinkedIn, which would be a great place. I can share my LinkedIn, and then also my email, which is Adele at AI-Learners.com.
Perfect. And just the website for AI learners in general as well, too, right?
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, Adele, thank you. It was selfishly a conversation that I wanted to have as I kind of work on some projects in adjacent spaces, and just wanted to kind of learn from you. I appreciate you taking the time to talk.
Awesome. Yeah, it was great chatting with you. Best of luck as well with your endeavors.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to the AdaptX Podcast. Our effort to amplify the ideas of our guests and create more inclusive and accessible industries is futile unless these episodes reach a larger audience. If you enjoyed our discussion today, please leave us a rating or a review on whichever platform you use. And if you would like to learn more about AdaptX, the course that we teach to health and fitness professionals and the projects that our organization is working on, you can subscribe to our newsletter through our website, www.adaptx.org. Until next Monday.